Hi, I'm Barbara. Cults. This is podcast 1 on my series on cults, a particular one, and I've been baby stepping it until I had all my paperwork, which I do now. And so let me show you my efforts. This is my efforts on a cult. And I don't want to let you see. This is genuine Superior Court information. So I knew this day was coming. Actually, I didn't know this day was coming. But if you follow my podcasts, I'm going to try to wear the same outfit when it comes to cults. For me, this represents green for healing. I'm going to be telling my story, my journey about being thrown under the bus by a particular church community. And so where do we begin? This is my evidence. And I have down here CDs and pictures and a whole lot of other proof. So why am I doing this? I am doing this because I actually thought I would have to take this experience to my grave, not having forgiven or let go, and take it with me to the other side. Instead, God saved me after 15 years of this ruthless attack on my character and my health and everything else that I've worked for. I am here to redeem myself, another particular person, and a few ladies that were also treated horrifically. And I know there's more. There's more that went before me and during me. But I seem to have gotten the worst of the brunt. There go my glasses. This is an example for me to demonstrate to the entire planet what happens to one good person because of people into power, control, money, and their egos. So, got 3 pages here. Basically, I was left with a reputation by 3 men, a spiritual teacher and 2 presidents, that I was mentally unstable, ignorant, a failure, and weak, and unbeknownst to me. But I did experience being humiliated and mocked and put down and had experiences and opportunities taken from me. I didn't know this was going on. It's taken this year to really put the whole thing together, the whole picture. But I say I lost everything because of them. Every possession that I've ever earned, the time spent earning those possessions, the time spent purchasing those possessions, the time spent keeping those possessions impeccable. And, I didn't prepare for this. I didn't script this. I don't like podcasts that are scripted, and I'm here to be authentic and honest and tell my truth and my experience. So if I stutter, please forgive me. So yes, I've been telling you that the evidence was with other people, which it still is in case anything happens to me. These people are ruthless, and I can't even bring the words to my lips of what they do and what they're capable of and what they have done to people. But very polished on the outside. And I guess I should make a statement to those of you who know me, that have gossiped about me and believed these 3 people. I'm about to unfold and unravel the truth. For those of you who were not in on the gossip and do not even know what I'm talking about, this will be very enlightening for you to know what kind of group you are a part of. So my name is Barbara Fiametta. Today is June 14th, 2026. I'm marking this day. When I finish with these papers, they will not finish. The copies being made, they're being handed to a director and a producer. So I am going full speed ahead on revealing my experience. And why? Because if it wasn't for God, I would be unalived by now. If it wasn't for God, I would have been totally decimated. Well, I was decimated. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be speaking to you. I wouldn't be here to be telling you the story. And I intend on telling the story to help all of you that have been in a similar situation of being slimed by a person, people, or a community. And I know there's millions of you out there who are going to relate to this. So whether or not you hang in, I'm starting with podcast 1 today as the introduction, and I will call these all cult podcasts. I will number them in order as I unfold everything that I have. All the events in 15 years, an awful lot has happened. And this is not something I do. This is not something that is part of my repertoire of behaviors. But what is part of my repertoire of behaviors is I do silently take good care of myself. I do silently defend myself. I will not always be public about it, but my self-talk is never in agreement with anybody who harms people. My challenge has been not having the money or the finances for a lawyer to really dig into these matters the way I wanted to. So I've always represented myself, and now I'm going to conduct the case publicly, expose it, go viral, and I am not in this for the money. I've lost everything. But what I will say is in 15 years, these 3 men, at the very least, had me evicted from my little studio on their property for $750 that I did not owe. I was so frazzled by what they were doing to me that I didn't even realize what was happening. And, I'm having trouble telling you this because the whole story is going through my head. So where do we start? We start with this is documentation of what went on at that property for me. I was documenting every night. I had a friend who was writing a movie right by my side, and I was busy handling this. The reason I was writing this is because they have a team of lawyers. They have unlimited funds, and they are known to go for the jugular of anybody that dares to disagree with them on any matter, the tiniest matter. So for any of you who thought that I have been making this up, particularly you 3 men, I'm not making this up. It's right here, and the rest of it's right to my side. And this is going to be quite a ride, and this is just an outline for the movies. This is just going to be the outline so I can tell my story, and it'll be easier for the parties who are going to pick it up and make it worldwide. So, where do I begin? Why and how did I end up in a cult? Now, I don't think I'm ready to go that far yet. I think what I just want to tell you first is, and I'm thinking about 5 ladies right now in the same church that also were fired, asked to leave because they were too smart and too intelligent. And it seems that one of the presidents is highly intimidated by intelligent, independent women who don't see him in the light of an authority figure. I know for me, I never even knew who he was. And there was nothing about him or his presence that attracted me to even approach him to say hello. And I'm really friendly. So apparently he had it in for me for 37 years. It'll unfold. He wanted my personality. He wanted my blessings. He wanted my education. He wanted everything that I earned with hard work. And he was merely an accountant. And so now I understand that he has supposedly changed and is imitating me. People are buying it, and the people who are starting to catch on to what happened to me know that it's a front and it is an act, and he hasn't changed a bit. So why did I not sue them with all this paperwork? I had enough proof to not only sue them, but I was eligible for $19,000 in relocation fees from them, as told to me by the Department of Housing, the Housing Department, whoever came and inspected my apartment. And turned out they inspected the property, unbeknownst to me. So they said I would have no problem getting $19,000 for relocation fees. So the big question you might ask is, why did I not sue them for damages? And also, the eviction was an illegal eviction. I did not owe that money. Why didn't I sue them, and why didn't I collect the $19,000? Had I gotten that money, I would not be sitting here before you. I would have a couple of hit records. I would have been traveling. I would have had my own little business. I would have been doing all my dreams, because $19,000 would have been way more than I needed to get another apartment. Instead, I became homeless and bopped around and around and around, in my car, not in my car, every possible place. I've lived in 16 different places in 15 years. And most of them I had to vacate because the circumstances in the homes were so toxic and horrible that I would pay the rent so I'd have some place to go, but I was always out in the street somewhere. So this is really imperfect, but I'm going to tell you why I didn't collect the $19,000. I walked away from it. Till this day, I don't know if they know that I was entitled to $19,000. If they had good attorneys, they would have told them that I could potentially get $19,000. But, these people probably lied to the attorneys, and the attorneys lied to them, and I'll get into that. So why didn't I take the other path 15 years ago, which would have been to sue them, gone on the front page of the papers, and collected $19,000? So I'm going to tell you why. Something just happened to my lighting. I'm playing around with lighting today. I do feel a bit of shame in telling you this, but it's not something to be ashamed of. It was pure fear. It's the fear that everyone has who has ever been connected to or in a cult. So, this is really hard to do, because as I'm doing it, the story is just flashing. This would take Barbara 1 through 1,000 to get all the details of what happened. But anyway, the basics are, so I was afraid for my life. I knew that these people had done other people in. I knew they had a team of lawyers. They had unlimited funds. I'm in and was in, and they are in a very dangerous neighborhood. And they have a reputation for going below the belt. Actually, on a lot of levels, those of you who know what I'm talking about, they go below the belt. I didn't do anything because I was grateful to the spiritual teacher that I wanted to study with, who is now deceased. I was so grateful for the work that he did with me that I didn't want to go up against him. And I saw him connected with his church, even though they would like everybody to believe that the teachings are separate from the business, and they are not. They are one. So that was number one. Number two, as any human being, a group I had been in for 30 years, I didn't want to be rejected. Had I gone for the $19,000 and had I sued, that was number two. Number three, I was afraid of all the gossip that would ensue if I did that. Number four, I know I would have won the case. My evidence, there's no disputing hard evidence. It was not a he said, she said thing. We're talking hard, factual evidence. Number six, I was eligible for $19,500 for relocation fees. I didn't take it. So I should put number for my writers. Number seven, they didn't succeed in unaliving me because I left and disappeared. Number eight, despite the fact that I was trying to stay low-key, stay to learn the spiritual teachings, they still gossiped about me, smeared me, maligned me, made my character mud, and initiated others to humiliate me in the middle of seminars and retreats and some other side things that I was involved with in front of hundreds of people. So that was number eight. So they did it anyway. So I was stupid in not suing and not collecting $19,500. Number nine, to date, people have rejected me, have shut down opportunities to me, which they made sure people didn't help me in one bit. Despite the fact that their supposed church, a very wealthy church, in 15 years, no one has called me to see if I had food to eat, a place to stay, a warm room, a bed, nothing. Not one person. And the one that really I'd like to say to the spiritual teacher, how do you look at yourself in the mirror every single day? How do you get up there on the stage and spout spiritual jargon year after year after year? You evicted me for $750. Let's assume I owed that money. $750 you couldn't pull out of your own personal pocket? Your own personal supposed charity that you have? You couldn't collect it from all your rich friends and all the people that donate to you and hold you up and give you multi-million-dollar houses and million-dollar trips? you couldn't find it in your heart to pull out of your pocket $750 to loan me at the very least, so I would not be homeless? And yet you get up and spout all these highfalutin spiritual teachings. That is beyond nerve. That is a violation of the mantle that you supposedly think that you hold and want us to believe that you hold. You are a hypocrite of the worst kind. A human hypocrite is one thing. A spiritual hypocrite, minister, initiate, we're talking another whole level of karma. So, 10. Well, they blocked all my opportunities. There were people that wanted to help me that they blocked. And so yes, it broke my spirit for a good 8 years. I had cognitive dissonance. How could they teach one thing and then do this thing? And so I did spiral. I spiraled down, ruined my health. I don't have access to my legs anymore to dance, which was the plan for my older years. I've lost my vocal cords from living in crazy places. I have lost everything. And anyone else with the health issues that I have, and I will be doing that in Cult Podcast 2, I will tell you from head to toe what has happened to my body. The only reason I am here speaking to you is I had to transcend into my soul. I had to live 100% from my heart. I could not depend on any of my humanity or anyone else's humanity. I had to go supernatural all the way. And that is why I am here today. That is why I'm devoted to doing podcasts that share with you that God is real. And I am the walking proof that God is real. And when you hear the story, you will definitely know that I am blessed. I have a spirit team, and I've been watched over. That doesn't happen. It wouldn't happen if I was in the wrong. So that's the second part. The third part, I said that to you. Oh, my candle's gonna burn this. I wrote something when I got this paperwork, copy I should say. The originals are very far away. I just wrote something. I'm going to read it to you. I couldn't memorize it. It's titled Isolation. Why did I go into isolation? I don't share my burdens. No, that's not what it says. I don't share because I don't want to burden others. My mother didn't want to burden others, so she didn't share either. My belief of not wanting to burden comes from being an empath and fearing that I might hurt others if I tell my story. I isolate because I am what? Oh, I isolate because I am worried that others will, I should have rewritten this, that others will take my pain into themselves, and I want to protect them from hurting because of me. That's the main key, is the part of me that doesn't want other people to hurt in general, does not want to dump my pain on others because they would pain for me. But what I've learned in 15 years, my assumption was that others were empaths as well, but they weren't, and they aren't. So the fear that I had that they would have pain for me was an illusion. So I didn't go 100% with this because I was living under an illusion that I would cause other people pain because of what I was going through. But after 15 years of observing, being isolated, learning a lot through homelessness, and observing these people from afar, there is no empathy. There is no empathy. Even though love, living love, is what they espouse to teach. So, that's podcast 1, cult 1. Just to let you know, guys, I haven't been joking. This is just a bit of the evidence. This is everything I was writing while I was living there, because no one would help me in the church. They just dismissed me. I wrote 3 letters to the spiritual teacher. Someone from housing approached him personally and asked him, what's going on? Why aren't you tending to Barbara's apartment? And I wrote letters to both presidents, and I tried to meet with them, and they refused. So I made every single effort to communicate with them before I called the housing department. I called the housing department 3 times. I didn't call, I went in person to the office, and each time I finished the application and the complaint, and each time I got in the elevator, went downstairs, went right back upstairs, and asked the lady to tear up my complaint. I did this 3 times. Same person sitting at the desk. When I went back a 4th time, and of course, because I was scared, when I went back a 4th time, she said to me, are you sure this time? Are you going to come back and rip it up again? I said, no, I'm sure this time. Enough had happened. Enough of their masks fell off. Enough of their colors were revealed. And at that point, I said, that's it. I was without water for 10 months in my entire apartment. I was without a refrigerator and a stove for those 10 months. So I had to eat out. And because it was so filthy and dirty on the grounds, I ended up sleeping in my car. The premises were flooded with roaches and debris everywhere. And I should say undocumented immigrants, which was not the problem. The problem was they were hanging out in apartments by the tens in one little studio with mattresses all over the floor. They would start partying at 7 o'clock in the morning, go work, blasting their boom boxes as they worked on the property, and then they wouldn't stop working until 10 o'clock at night, which was illegal. And then they would first pop the tops off their beer cans and hang out on the property, singing and yelling at 10 to 1 in the morning. And my church refused to do anything, and their management refused to do anything. And everybody who lived on the property were afraid to say anything. Most of them were not citizens. Most of them were Latin, Spanish, and then mostly Black. I was there with maybe 3 other people who were from the church. And I should point out that the spiritual teacher invited us to move there, to the property, particularly those that were moving into retirement and wanted to scale down, had a lower budget, etc. He even humiliated 2 women in front of an entire group to move onto the property. And when they resisted, his attitude was, are you too good? Are you too good enough to move onto that property? As if he ever lived there with his wife. As if he ever walked the property. As if he ever checked out the insides of the apartments that were totally filthy and roach infested. So this is part one of a very long series of what I went through there and how I was treated, as well as what happened after to me, which is the most important thing to me, is I lost everything, 15 years of my life, and I essentially lost the rest of my 70s, because it's going to take a miracle and thousands of dollars to heal my body. You only see me from the top up. You only see me with some makeup and doing my hair. This is not my reality on a daily basis. This takes so much effort for me to do. My reality is a ponytail, on a walker, in the wheelchair, and vacating this assisted living to get out of mold and chemicals, which has been going on for years. By now, I would have had money in the bank. I would have had my own business. I would be singing. You would know my name. I mean, I know how to manifest. 15 years lost of manifesting, that's a gold mine for me. So I surrendered this entire process. I already have surrendered it into God's hands. In fact, it was in the surrendering process that a whole bunch of stuff came to light. And I was essentially told, do you think I would have abandoned you and left you to live with this inside yourself without helping you tell your story? So essentially, I am working with permission, more than permission, promotion. I am working with God's promotion to tell the truth, because, you know, there comes a point where God does not appreciate people claiming him, her, the universe, creation, does not appreciate being claimed as their one and only power, when in fact they are abusing it and using it to maintain their status, to maintain their power, and to maintain their bankroll, of which they have so much more than they even claim. They hide under a non-profit status. I have proof of properties in the names of other congregants, which by now has been cleaned up, but I have the old proof. So now they're claiming that they're, you know, what's the word, sealed tight and legal. Well, they weren't 15 years ago. The words that Spirit gave me at that time was that this church was a train wreck, out of control. That's what it was. And like everything else that I do and everywhere else I go, I always end up with the shit on me, having to clean it up while they benefit. It's called being the scapegoat, being the black sheep, and taking on, unbeknownst to me, their shadow. And I'm going to make that my second cult podcast. If you've lasted this long, blessings. Send me your prayers, because this is not what I wanted to be doing with my life. But I'm choosing to do this because I know it is now a ministry, it is a mission, and it's going to free millions of people to hear this story. It's an age-old story. So that was a serious podcast, guys. You know I like to laugh, and you know I like to have fun with you. And I just wanted to get really clear and initiate myself into this before I backed off. And there's no stopping me now, because this is it. This is what I'm going to do. So I'll move on to podcast 2.